I know every time DEQ or any of the regulators have tried to make things retroactive, a good example was wastewater reporting of small systems.
Mm-hmm.
They passed a law saying you had to keep track of them and report them to the health district every year. That lasted about a year, and we pushed back on it. And then they said, no, any system that was put in before this date, you don't have to do that. And I can't remember if it ended up going to court or not.
I don't think retroactivity is really an issue, though.
But
I mean, yeah, so we have people that have moved in, bought property at, let's say in 2012, 13, 14, whatever, bought a property, and then made a stub out and put a little cottage or something on the end of it, and they don't have an extra ER, but now they have the grandma house. Or,
I'm talking about ones that were put in, the stub out was put in prior to.
prayers.
Detroit are having a rule in place,
I don't know
but
if
if they couldn't do that.
I don't think we have a
I
lot.
don't know. The only reason I brought it up is because the major deal when we try to start issuing fines.
Mm-hmm. So, Gianna, if you can, speak up, Bob. I mean, you talk over me, that's fine. You know, you're a wealth of knowledge, and I welcome your recommendations and knowledge, wisdom.
Well, sometimes it's hard to pull things out of this old gray mind of mine.
Gianna, thank you. You're working with Bottle Bay. I can work with Jesse. Jesse's a pivot point and all this with finding this constructor for a second person, and we're getting employee manual. There have to be possibly excerpts in the employee manual. I can work with that.
That's what I was saying. Is if they work for whoever the operator is, or the operator is a contract operator, you don't have to do any of that. The operator will be responsible for that. And so you need somebody, an operator, who's willing to be responsible for that and willing to put the boots on the ground.
So bottom line is, are you willing to be responsible if we hire one of your guys to be there? I mean,
you'd hire us to do it, and we would assign people to do that work.
Right. Okay, that's what I needed to hear.
I mean, we just had a call from a district. We were recommended by an attorney. They just got a huge loan, and they called and asked if we'd be willing to take over and see them through all of their big project stuff. So if we say yes, we're committed to do whatever it takes to do that. If I have to put one person or two people or three people there full time, whatever it takes. So just say that's part of whoever's responsible for the system. That should be part of their system responsibilities, and it should be delineated in your contract with that person or with that company.
And relook at, well, in Cooch's contract, then if we're just talking to water and your contract, you're talking about sewer, and see where if we have to, add an amendment of some sort in our contracts.
Yeah, I pay Cooch to do things for us
in
several areas because he's there. But if he's not doing what he needs to do when he's doing things for us, then we step in and cease paying him to do it than we do. It's just more economical and less expensive for you folks.
Right. So we would have the ability to review our contracts with the operators and have you do more water and sewer, just theoretically speaking, have you do more water and sewer things, and then
that's always an option.
One of your employees would be able to be here more with us to help us through some of these?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we needed to.
Yeah.
Yes, if we needed to.
If the district wanted to go that way.
We can put a person boots on the ground full time, or two people boots on the ground, or three, whatever it takes.
Our contracts do say that we can review these type of adjustments at any time. I mean, it's agreements.
Well, we're not AT&T. We're really flexible in the way we can do it.
And right now, we're paying, someone's running up to the top of the hill to chlorinate every night.
Oh, the reservoirs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a unique shot. But every once in a while, things like that come up where there's, we just had a major one at Bottle Bay that we were just talking about. A major situation. We had somebody there full-time for several weeks and 10 hours a day a few of those days. So when there's something that needs dealing with, you got to deal with it. But we don't want to make that situation, there's no reason for you to pay for a situation like that that's only going to occur once every 20 years or so.
Right.
Might as well just pay for what you need, and then anything that's required over and above that, you step in and do it, you just pay that, whatever's associated with it. So, I mean,
Okay, well,
I'm not
clearly, we still have work to do,
Yes.
and we're not.
I think that's enough to bite off on item 1.
I agree.
So I just think it's really important that everyone look at their calendars to see what you can do for a consistent workshop meeting.
More than every 2 months.
Yes. That is the only way that anything is going to get solved is if this stays at the forefront of the board members' minds and it's a commitment to reach a resolution, and workshops kind of get thrown and then
I don't think weekly is really necessary, but bi-weekly would we?
No, I think that's too much.
Yeah.
Maybe once a month, we could have a workshop.
But again, could it be incorporated in our regular agenda?
it could be, but these types of things usually become a really lengthy type conversation, and they become more like a workshop, until the district starts to even get to the point where it's like, okay, now we have a document to review from our attorneys that, because after everything that you guys have decided, this is the route we want to take, this is the research, this is the, and then you go to the attorneys and they actually are preparing documents, and at that point you would probably move it over to a regular agenda, but that's up to you guys.
The thing that makes it nice to have a monthly workshop is, by law, we can't just have a conversation about this stuff, So it makes it very difficult, and I think the public probably doesn't realize we have such a limited time to tackle some really big issues, and it's not like we can just call each other up and talk about it, because we can't. And so that defined, and I think we need to time define it, because keeping board members active. I worked full time last week on baby water and sleep, swear to God. And so I've got a life too, and I've got things that I've got to handle, and we all do. I have a 94-year-old mom that I'm handling. And so if we had a time defined workshop once a month, probably 2 weeks prior to the board meeting, so that if we did finalize something, we could then bring it to the board, we'd make things a lot more functional. So that's what I would consider reasonable.
Okay. And what's also nice about these types of things is if you hold them separate, because a lot of the public does not want to come to a board meeting because they last forever. They have to sit through an operator's report, a treasurer's report, and they're like, oh my gosh. But if they have an item that we can try to get them involved in, get their input and things like that, and I know it's just that item, and hopefully you can get some public involvement on that too. So I'm going to create an agenda for the next workshop so that we have some structure to these things moving forward. So the agenda will be the findings of research with Bottle Bay. And then as well as I think we should discuss personnel things concurrently with that.
Agreed.
So
Yes. And I have some questions for you, Bob Hanson, and we'll email them to you.
I think that's a good jumping off point.
Okay.
Job description, personnel needs, and the research of Bottle Bay. And then we can move into legal review with suggestions from whatever you learned from Bottle Bay.
Great.
What date?
That's a good question. Let's ask. So let's see. So if we want to go kind of in between Thursday
around the first.
okay. Oop, no. So the 19th will be our board meeting next time. So I would say,
This,
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of too soon. I mean, that's next week.
We could this time do the 12th, which would be 2 weeks from now, but then we're only 1 week out from the board meeting.
That's fine.
But then after that,